Hello, and welcome to the Arlene B. Mitchell Show here on NGRA Radio. I'm your host, Arlene B. Mitchell, and I'll be filling you in on the latest gossip, news, weather, and of course, I'll be interviewing upcoming celebrities. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this hour with me here on NGRA Radio. Welcome, AK. This is an interview for the magazine, and I just have a couple of questions I would like to ask you for the readers of the magazine, and also for the ones that are listening on NGR Radio that can't get to the magazine right offhand, or don't know where it is or something like that. You'll be able to hear it on this radio station. Okay, AK, can you tell us a little bit of why you got into what you're into? It's the question I asked you in the other interview that we had on Monday that just passed. I don't know how many people listened to that interview, but if you could reiterate some of the information, I would appreciate it.
All right. I hope I can remember it a little bit. But again, Ms. Arlene, thanks for having me. Glad to be with you.
You're so welcome. Well, you're a wonderful writer. I always like meeting exciting people like you. In the business that I'm in, I don't come across that many very well-spoken, highly intelligent people. Sometimes I come across people who just blasé about what they do, or, things like that. And those I tend to wean out and try not to get involved with. But a person like you, most definitely.
Well, I'm definitely flattered. And
you should be, AK. You are wonderful. You should be.
Well, I just know that we of color, we don't blush that easily, but I think you got me there.
Oh, wow. Are you serious? Don't make me start smiling over on this end. Really, do not make me start smiling. But for the readers, exactly why is it that you became a writer?
Well, I could just to try to put the pieces together. I was around 6 years of age, and I remember questioning my mother about a slew of topics I really wanted to get the answers to. And like I said in the last show, I was just an extremely curious young man to the point where I, in the neighborhood of the military housing in Kailua Kona, Hawaii, when my family was stationed there, I actually blew out the electrical grid of half the community on base housing, and got in a lot of trouble with the military police, the MPs. And basically, my mother just would always constantly tell me that I talk entirely too much. What she said, like something like I'm a conversationalist to the nth degree, and she just thought I would make a great writer if I ever just turned these words into these words that I'm speaking into words on paper. And you never know where it could take me. So years later, I think that was a spark that actually got me started, and just with my outlook on life and my outlook on history, I put the pieces of the puzzle together, and I just decided to approach the genre, or just approach writing, the same way Orson Welles did, from the Twilight Zone and whatnot. Those eclectic writers are how I approach my readers.
Right. Well, she definitely knew what she was talking about, because her son, you're incredible when it comes to writing.
Well,
I've read quite a bit of what you've written, and I can tell everybody that's reading this article, or if you're not reading the article, if you're listening to this on a radio station, you have to go to his website, thewriterofbooks.com, and it's amazing. He lists his works there. There are book trailers, the take a peek, book reviews. I think it's some interviews there, right, AK? Some interviews and a mini blog, right, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a mini blog there. And, of course, you can contact him and, just find out all kinds of things you need to know about him. Now, I want to ask you, I know that a lot of African American writers, and I always bring things to the forefront. I mean, if you don't know that about me yet, you'll know that about me. A lot of African American writers do not write horror, nor do a lot of them, well, in my opinion, they don't write horror. At least I haven't come across many, in between. Why did you decide to write horror?
Well, I was an avid I am an avid movie buff, and in the early '80s, I fell in love with the horror genre. When it came out, all the movies that came out, the Friday the 13th, the Evil Dead, the whole spiel.
Oh my
I was just
God,
in love with
those
it.
are my movies too. Oh, I'm sorry for getting excited. Those are my movies too.
I even know. I'm so much into film that I know for a fact that they don't do it like they did before. These horror movies don't give you a scare like it did before. So I just decided to come up with an original take on horror that could actually try to roll you back to the time where William Peter Blatty, that got an Oscar for his original screenplay, The Exorcist. I'm trying to come up with something like that, and that's how I'm approaching or how I'm pitching producers and directors for my particular project, because I keep saying that if they direct it adequately, if it's adequately directed, I believe it could actually have the impact that The Exorcist had in its day.
I believe that too, because that when I was going down, right, and scrolling down is what I mean, scrolling down the page and stuff, and looking at the book that you had done, The Possession. And please, if anybody is listening to this right now, I don't know if you are, because I'm on the opposite site right now, so far as my blogging is concerned about the Blog Talk. But if you go down, you can actually read some of what he has written about the book. And it's a trilogy, and it's on Facebook. You can go on there and you can find out some information. It'll tell you something. It's called Writer's Block Trilogy on Facebook, and it's just wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. So, AK, let me ask you this. With you getting into this and this being a field that many African Americans don't get into, I would imagine, like, you're a star among stars. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, does it make you nervous about sales and different things like that having to do with the book? Since, people are used to, not to be funny, but they're used to, like, a lot of Caucasians writing these types of books.
Well, that does make me nervous because, men and women of color do not delve into genres outside of a social class, which I kind of I feel disdained about that. Even though I believe that even though authors of color are very good at their words, for some reason many of us tend to stay typecast within our communities or how we were raised or what we've grown up around and our social class that we've grown up around. And even though the writing is good, the genre is pushed off to the side as if they'll typecast us as being black lit or black literature or black poetry.
Right.
They don't ever consider us mainstream, and therein lies the caveat at which I said to myself that I would never fall within. So what I'm doing is I actually approach literature from a mainstream perspective, not a typecast perspective. I'm a writer first, not an African-American writer, but I'm a writer first. And there's no pun to these African-American writers because their words are outstanding. But I don't believe that they should try to stay tightly within a niche group and expect to actually broaden their horizons, by staying within that niche group, because you can do so much. You could do so much gangster literature or whatever they call gangster literature or inner city literature or man-female love literature or becoming the next John Gotti literature. Not many people, it's a niche group and it's got a following, but it's not large enough to be considered mainstream. So you'll always see in the brick and mortar stores, the Barnes and Nobles, Amazons, you'll always see them segregated to a specific corner. And that's what I just don't want. I
Wow.
want to be on the shelves with the Stephen Kings, the Rick Hartulas, the Dean Koontz. I want to be on those shelves, and that's why I broadened my horizons initially.
Well, I definitely
So when it comes down to horror, that's
yeah.
also one way of breaking into that category, but it's the subject matter by which I've written, which I've started off the Writer's Block trilogy, The Possession, my first book, that the subject matter itself is really what gets the audience, what gets my readers. Once you put your eyes on the subject matter itself, you're going to see how broad and how mainstream it really is, and how it actually is intertwined with our everyday lives.
Right. Wow. I can definitely understand where you're coming from with that perspective, but sometimes it takes one person, to make that bold stand and to make the others, come up to the forefront, so that in no way will they be exactly what you said, typecasted into or stereotyped into, this is what you do, and we already know this, and there's nothing different coming forward from your particular ethnicity or something like that. Now,
so they push us into a certain class. They push us into a certain literary class, no matter who we are. And that's, there's no pun on these authors, because I think their writing is outstanding.
Right.
I read a lot.
They are. There are a lot of wonderful ones. Yeah.
Yes, but it's just not my genre of choice. But I read just to get a perspective of how they're writing, and I keep scratching my head saying, this writer, whether male or female, this person is outstanding. But they will not break out of that niche group, which frustrates the HELL out of me.
Well, I can understand that. Because you're definitely a person who I find anyway that, into other people lifting up and, being so positive and stuff for other people. I want to go on to the other book right now, and it'll just be like a short question about it because we don't have that much time. But the other book, Conspirator's Odyssey, tell me a little bit about that. Well, actually, you're telling the audience, but, could you speak about that a little bit?
Oh, about Conspirator's Odyssey? Oh, that's pretty much it's if I can just give you a break there, like a basic tagline of what the project is what the project is about. Just one sentence tagline which would read that it's basically based on the 1947 Roswell UFO incident. But the caveat here is that the 1947 Roswell UFO incident sparked the rise of the military-industrial complex and led to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Many people focus on the who, what, when, where, and how behind the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, when I focus on what no one has focused on within the last 50 years, and that's the why. Forget the trajectory of the bullet. Forget where the car was and that big white X on the road and still on the road in Dallas, Texas. Forget who did it, how it happened, whatever. How about just focus on the why? I focus on the why, and it has everything to do with the military-industrial complex. It has nothing to do with all these mob connections, the Chinese-Russian government, him wanting to disclose UFOs, all this other kind of crap. Even though that's pertinent, it's just not pertinent to the why behind his fall and behind his slaying. And I just think it's a very unique theoretical approach to his slaying that I think that many audiences would be interested in knowing.
Okay. And for all of you that are reading this article or listening to this broadcast on NGRA Radio when it's uploaded, you definitely have to. You have to go to his website and check out those books because he really is he's a brilliant writer. And as you could very well hear from him explaining himself here, just alone, that right there tells you what kind of content is inside of his books. And I just think that, there should be more people coming up to the forefront the way he is and just getting out there and doing outside of the norm of what is expected of you in by the way that he's doing it. You can catch AK coming up soon on Arlene Brown Presents. That's the cable show for all the different homes that I'm in. I think it's like 80,000 or something like that. But I hope everybody does catch it And if you've listened to Monday's broadcast, definitely you'll get the whole lowdown on what he was just saying. This right here was just a small breakdown because we only had basically a certain amount of time to finish the interview. Okay, I want to thank you so much. I know I had you waiting, and I apologize for that, being into so many different projects. I really do apologize for taking the time to say that. And
well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. You're so welcome, all the time. And I look forward to interviewing you for the TV segment.
All right, I'm ready for it.
All right, then. Are you an entrepreneur or entertainer and you'd like to be on the show? Email me at arlene@arlenebrownmitchellnetwork.com. Also, you can contact me on Twitter at ABMNmedia_New York. That's ABMNmedia_New York. You can also find me on Facebook at ABMN Network Media. That's ABMN Network Media. I hope to hear from you soon. Well, another great show has come to an end. Thank you for cooling out with me for the past half hour. I hope you'll join me again. This is your host, Arlene B. Mitchell, saying blessings and prosperity to you.